I'm going to explain to you what you need to know about double dies so that you can tell the difference between strike doubling and die deterioration and that kind of thing. So stay tuned. Okay, first, here's MintStatecom, and we have coin values which are actually more like what a coin dealer would pay for the coins, closer in that direction. You have coin collection where you can add coins to your collection. It's really neat, and there's going to be some new updates added to this, some new features based off of people's requests that's used the site. I appreciate everybody's feedback. And then also we have the coin identifier, which is the first step in actually grading coins. I showed you that video yesterday. Check that out if you want to. Showed you how the system grades the obverse of a coin. Then here's my website, portsmouthcoinshop.com. I have the coins for sale. You can make offers on them. I have some bullion up right now, some really neat things I listed, and more coins coming up here shortly. So visit portsmouthcoinshop.com. So I still get a lot of questions about double dies. And here's some information you just can't do without. You have to know this information. Now this is Weisslers doubledie.com website, okay? One of the leading authorities on double dies and varieties. You have to read this entire site like it's a book. Treat it like it's a book. I don't care whether you have to print it off or what you have to do. Now, I talked to Weisslers. I sent him an email a while back and asked for permission to do some things with this site. Now, I'm going to show some of this briefly. I'm not showing you all the details. I'm not going to go into in-depth explanations. But if you want to know about double dies, start right here. This goes through and explains what hub doubling is, the master die, the working die. It's all very important information that you need to absorb. There are videos that will show you some of this stuff too. I have some videos and I do some drawings in some of my videos to try to show you. So if you're more of a visual learner. But you can't allow yourself, just because you're a visual learner, not to try to read this. It's very important that you read this. So like I said before, we had a multiple squeezing hubbing era, and then we have a single squeeze era, which we use now. It's important to know the differences in those. So this will explain it. It will show you what dies look like as far as the reverse die and the obverse die, which is the reverse die is basically the anvil die. It's stationary. The hammer die, the obverse die, usually it's the obverse die. It's not always the case, but usually that's the hammer die. That's the die that comes down and strikes and pushes the metal into the die cavities. It doesn't melt. It doesn't stamp. It strikes. So now, with that in mind, once you've read this and you've learned a little bit about the dies and the reducing lathe and the master dies and the working hubs and things like that, then you want to go over to the classes. Okay, this is where it's listed. You got class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, open each one of these in a separate tab and come over here and take a look at what it means, okay? And it will show you the coins that are listed under this classification. Not every one of them, but it'll show you the most popular examples. This is class 1. This is where the 1955 double die falls in, and the 1969S double die, and the 1972. Not all of them, but it's very important to know this because this describes the direction of the doubled areas or the condition of the die when it was doubled before it struck the coin. You're talking about dies that were already doubled and then they struck the coin. It's not double struck. The coin itself is not actually doubled as it goes through the process. The die is doubled and it strikes the coin and imparts those double features onto the planchet. So you can see here, this is examples after examples of what this classification looks like. This is the most popular, at least this is the most dramatic looking double dies, almost bar none. This is the most modern one. This one happened under the signal squeeze method, but it is still classified as a class 1 double die. Now, class 2. This is distorted hub double. Okay, and they say doubling. I don't like using the word doubling, but Weisslers the guy, so we'll go with what he says. This explains that these are produced in a manner that's totally different from the way class 1 double dies are produced. It's where the class 1 double die variety has the double rotated about a central point. The class 2 double die will display doubling that is spread either towards the center of the die or towards the rim. So knowing this is very important because it helps you understand that double dies are in one direction. If you have what looks like a double die and it's in more than one direction, more than likely it's strike double, mechanical doubling, or it's actually die deterioration. So we come down through and we can take a look at all the examples. This shows the direction. That's the differences here. Then we want to go to class 3. Okay, this is design hub doubling. The best way to understand this is that the 60D or 1960 cents, a small date over a large date, is a class 3 double die. It's important to know what each one of these classifications are, so when you're looking at a coin, you understand what this double die is. It'll help you identify it by understanding how it occurs. This one here, you can see the differences, and it shows the large and the small. The problem is that people look at this image and they think, oh, this is the one, but it's not, okay? What you're looking at, this is the basically what I call an overdate, but this is a class 3 double die right here. Not these two. It's showing you the large and the small date. It's very important to know that, because people will see this right here and they think that's doubled, or that's the overdate. It's not. That's not how it works. This is what you're looking for right here. So go down through in this one here and read this, because it's very important that you do this. Also, the 1942 over 1, on the Mercury dimes, the 1918 over 7 D Buffalo nickel. Those are all double dies. They're class 3 double dies. So it's, like I said, it's very important to learn which ones are which so that you can help identify them. Then come over here to class 4 double dies. This is offset hub doubled. And it's kind of not as common, but you can see here when it's offset what direction it is. It says strong doubling spread to the north, shows on the letters of the 1 cent. So you've got the reverse of the 1983 as an example of this. The 1936 is an example of this. And like I said, it explains up here that the class 4 double die is produced when the centers of the hub and the die are not in alignment during one of the hubbings. So like I said, you know, when you're hubbing, you're basically squeezing in the impression. Class 5 double dies. It's just pivoted hub doubles. Okay? And like I talk about, it tells you it's the point of the rotation pivot point will be somewhere along the rim of the hub or die alignment. So it's important to come down and take a look at a coin. Now this is just a drawing, but it will show you, like in 1995 is a class 5 double die. And it shows you an example of this, why it's this class. It's very important to read about it, read through this and take a look at it. And it's nice to know a popular double die for this class so that it helps you understand a little bit more about it. You can find examples of what it looks like. Then we go to the class 6. This is the extended hub double. Now this is when you usually never see a notch on it. The lettering is and the numbers are just fatter. Well, this is the only class of double die varieties that remain somewhat of a mystery with regards how it is caused. It says the appearance of the 6 double die variety is the class 6 is extremely different from that found on double dies in other cases. Okay, it says in all of the cases, double die varieties, there is usually a distinct separation of images. Okay, and you don't see that here. It's basically believed that whenever the heat distorts and causes the letters to thicken, so when it creates the die and the squeeze, it will cause a thickening, or at least it will translate a thickening of the letters. Now, like I said, there's different theories on this. No one completely understands 100%, but Weisslers has a pretty good idea of what this is supposed to look like, and this will help you out when you're looking at coins that has this potential. Then we go to class 7 double dies. This is modified hub doubling. Now we can look down through the images and we can see it's where the actual die was modified. As you can see, different examples of this. And this, people get this confused, but you need to read what it means. 57 over 7 cent overdate variety. This alleged variety shows that it appears to be a remembrance of a 7 of the 8 and was first noticed in 1958 mint sets. Now, according to the account, the mint indicated that the master hub became unusable after making the master die for 1957. They didn't want to make a new master hub as they were used for a period of several years. So it's basically, it's when like they used the 1957 die to make a 1958 coin. It kind of try to remove the 7 and turn it into an 8, and you can see it on a coin. So that's what you get with the Class 7. And here's some examples of it. And like I said, it's just important to read this yourself. It'll help you out a whole lot. Then here's Class 8. This is tilted hub doubled. I actually have an example of this, and just imagine whenever the squeeze is going on, that the hub is actually tilted so that it only creates an impression, half an impression basically. As you can see here, this is a part of the eye and part of the N. That's all you can see. So that way, when you look at this, you're seeing, now some people are going to mix some of this up with clash marks and things like that. That's why it's important to come here and read this completely. Read it more than once if you have to. Look up examples of this Class 8 double die, and it'll help you out tremendously. But as you can see, here's example after example. Now, most of these, when it comes to double dies, there's no guarantee that it's going to be worth a bunch of money. A lot of these are really common. So I want to show you examples here of what would be considered die deterioration or mechanical doubled. They're not true double dies. And you can see where the die actually cut into this. It didn't double it. It's not doubled at all. It actually moved the metal. And that's very important to note. There's a flat shelf-like area on the coin. It's not like the double dies I just showed you. Here's a little bit of die deterioration. You can hardly see it. Some of this is reflective doubling, what we call reflective doubling, which is just the reflections mostly from the camera. I think I have some other angles. Here's a die deterioration. A lot of people want to call that a poor man double die. It has nothing to do with the double die. And there's little anomalies you'll see when it comes to die deterioration. Here's some more examples. As you can see, it's just little areas where the die, just basically moved during the strike. Here's another example. You can see the flatness of it. It's just not a double die. It'll fool you. It'll make you think it is, but it's not. Lettering can get distorted also. It can get flattened out. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of distorted hub doubled on some coins, a little bit thicker, but it's just going to be so common. It's not really worth messing with. It's not worth putting a bunch of time in. You need to research and learn and spend your time doing that first. Here is an example of some strike doubled coin, strike doubled Liberty, I should say. And I pointed out here with the arrows. You can pause the screen and take a look at this. Like I said, I took these images trying to give you an example. Here's another example of it. The letters on these look kind of thick, but the point of it is 1968 they were kind of designed like that. Basically like 2019, the last 9 is kind of thicker. That's just normal. Here's some more images of the eye. It's just flat. It's hard to see this sometimes in images. Sometimes it looks like it's not flat when you're looking at images, but they are. Here is an example of an actual double die, and here's not a double die. See the difference? See how much thicker? It's just, you can see the difference. This is your Class 1 here. So here's another example. You can see it up here where it cut into the edge of the design. And it just, you can keep going and looking at different examples. Here's some blurry images, but this is die deterioration, plating disturbance. You'll see that a lot. Here's another thing. It's just not a double die. It's just a real light die deterioration. You see the die flow lines. Here's some die flow lines. This is not a double die either. And like I said, I examine hundreds and hundreds of coins, maybe even thousands of coins. Here's some more. You see the radiant lines from the die striations. Here's another example. This is one of my videos. You got to check out my other videos. This is die deterioration. And here's some more die deterioration. Here's another example. This was on a gold $5. You can see it's kind of flat in here. I know a lot of people get fooled by the inside, but this is, definitely strike doubled. So I tried to show you the website to go to and some images to compare and to learn about double dies. It's best to do research before you look at your coins. It's best to read everything that you can get your hands on so that when you sit down with your coins, you're more, you've got your information there. You've got it up here in your head a little bit better. And you start posting in the groups, and it gets frustrating because, you try to help someone and they're not really, you feel like they're not learning. And you feel like they keep posting the coin after coin after coin, and they're really not getting it somehow. So you need to come at it at all angles. not fight information, and not look at a coin and keep fighting yourself and saying, man, it looks like it, man, it's got to be, man, it doesn't look like anything I've seen on the internet, it doesn't look like this or that. Typically, when a coin doesn't look like something you see online, it doesn't look like a particular double die class, it's probably not a double die. More than likely, it's strike double, mechanical doubled, or die deterioration. So anyways, thanks for watching my latest video. Please like, share, and make a comment. Like I said, please post your questions in my help community. Just type in Coin Help You Community, join, and post your images there and ask for help. And have a great day.